and then it's acquisition sustainment, and that's a little different than program management and procurement. And then, of course, logistics policy and procedures, and that's really what we do up at the Pentagon, is making sure that we have the right policy that's supporting all of our men and women in uniform. So as you know, we have a new Secretary of Defense, and General Mattis has been on board a little over a month, and his two focus areas are warfighter readiness and sustainment. And so we're really excited about that as logisticians and as support personnel, because obviously the readiness is in our area of operations, as well as the sustainment piece. So again, we'll be looking forward to partnering with not just Secretary Mattis, but you guys and all the team to make sure that we're out there providing the best support available. So as mentioned by Kevin, I've been in my job less than a year, but I've served in the Pentagon before, and then I was out doing other things for the Army, and then I came back in this capacity. I'm very happy to be here. And I've seen some changes over the last time that I was in the Pentagon, and I think the number one thing I see is the collaboration that's going on throughout, not just the services, but also for the Secretary of Defense's office, and then whole of government. And that's part of me being here today, so I'm excited about that. Now let me, I'm going to flip my own slides, so see how I do. Do I have to show it toward the, I don't know where to go. DoD logistics is big business, really big business. And you see that by this slide here, and if you can't see it in the back, if you look at the top left, we have spent $145 billion in logistics in FY15. It takes us a while to get the numbers, so we'll have FY16 data in about the next 30 days, but it's going to be similar to what we spent in 15. Supply chain, though, and logistics applies to many things. It's supply, transportation, maintenance, contracting, administrative support, finance, and medical. So it's really a lot of support elements out there enabling, again, the military to do their mission. Supply chain includes the entire life cycle. It's from the idea generation to the actual procurement and production of items and procurement of services, all the way through the life cycle and the sustainment model to disposal or the end of the contract. So again, we look at the whole life cycle when we look at logistics. You see on this slide that we have a lot of different sites all over the country, all over the world. We have thousands and thousands of suppliers. We do thousands of requisitions every day, and you know that we have a lot of equipment that we have to maintain and get serviced over the course of our requirements. So we'll see how this grows in the future, but I'll tell you right now, it's a big business already. Okay, next chart is what I'm going to focus on, which is a little bit about category management in my area of operations. So quick background, I'm not going to go into a lot because Leslie Field's going to, from OMB, is going to go into a lot more of it in the near future this morning. But I am going to talk a little bit about what our role is in category management. And I think you all know, obviously, you're here today, it's a federal-wide initiative that helps us working together on a common spend plan. And like I said, I've seen it really, this whole of government really come forward over the last few years. The federal government spends about $467 billion in some of these services. And we want to try to eliminate redundancies. We want to try to increase efficiency and deliver more value. So there's 10 categories that you'll hear about throughout the day. We are the lead, DoD is the lead for one category, and that's transportation and logistics services. So we handle that piece. And then we have a co-lead for the medical category. And so the rest of them are done throughout other parts of the government. We are, of course, as I mentioned earlier, a large spender in this transportation and logistics services, and that's why we got the job to be the head of this part of this category, the category management plan. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the DoD perspective in our role as a category manager. So here's some facts that talk about it. We have $21 billion in our category. We have 6 subcategories and 76 product support codes. So those are the big spenders right now in the Transportation Logistics Services category. DoD, just to give you kind of an idea, we have $17.7 billion we spend in this category. NASA has $1.8 billion, GSA $1.4 billion, Department of State has almost $500 million, VA is $450 million, and then Department of Energy $40 million. So you'll see those are the, some of the big players in our portfolio. So the trend for the last 5 years has been about a $13 billion decrease in this category, which is a good news story. But we see that leveling off, and we want to try to find ways to be a little more efficient in the future. So we'll look at opportunities. So what does this category really mean to us? That is what we buy. A lot of areas. And so as we look at some of the transportation services, all modes of transportation, you see there rail, motor, air, ocean, and port operations. We also have logistics, distribution, and services. So we do warehousing, we do personal property moves, which, just to give you an idea, 428,000 moves a year, and 70,000 personally owned vehicles are moved every year. We have distribution services, we have global communications, we have cargo, tracking, and visibility. A lot of moving parts. And again, this isn't just DoD, this is all of government. This gives you kind of a breakdown of how we are set up in our categories. So by subcategory, just to know the number one category that we have as subcategories, logistics support services. That's the blue area, and for those that can't see it, that's $6.5 billion. We have that's warehousing, and again, all of the different organizations in government have warehousing requirements, have base operations requirements, have storage, and so it's pretty big. The second one is fuel, which is logistics propellants, petroleum, fuel, and oils, and that one is $5.5 billion. And then the third one is transportation of things, which is kind of the greenish color, and that is all the sea lift and the charter services we do. And again, that's about almost $5 billion. And then the last one is motor vehicles, which of course GSA does a lot of that, is the non-tactical vehicle buys and leases, which is about $3.7 billion. So this is about 96% of the category spend. And again, a pretty big category to get at, to try to find efficiencies in. So these are after a lot of work, and I have the lead for our category, Lisa Roberts, here today, and she'll be here with you later on a panel. But she's been working this with the team and working out how we're going to get at these different initiatives. So first it was to agree on what the initiatives were going to be, and that was a strategic plan that had to be put together for FY 17 through 19. And they looked at the different areas that we could get at. And again, everyone does it a different way. Everyone has a different way of doing business. And so what you need to do is look at what is best for the whole of government. And what was the first area that they thought they could tackle was the package delivery services solution. And so I'm real proud to say that GSA and DMV worked really hard on this one and agreed that we would combine the DoD and GSA contracts into one government small package delivery service contract. That contract is currently out for bid, and we believe that we'll have a decision by in the next month or so and start by the summer. And that, of course, will be managed by U.S. Transportation Command and DoD because of their mission to help move all the services and supplies around the globe. But that is a big, big win. And again, it had to be a collaborative effort with a lot of teammates, because what we'll find is some people will have to then change their way of doing business. But it's better for government to have this one contract that manages all small package delivery. And again, we'll see how this comes out, but I'm really excited that it was the first one and worked out so well. The other three TBD. We've got a few years to work on those. So we've got the first one, which is the fuels. The fuel solution, we believe DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency, will be the lead on that. And we'll take the existing principles that we use and work at trying to do a best-in-class on that. And again, more to follow. But DoD is the federal wide procurer of fuel right now, so it's their sweet spot. The next one is freight opportunities. This one, we don't know exactly how that's going to go and who's going to be overseeing that one, but it's going to be a chance for us to leverage some of our freight contracts and tenders along the entire federal enterprise. And again, it's going to make some folks uncomfortable because they're going to have to change the way they do business, but I think it's going to be good for everyone that we can be more efficient. And then the last one is the motor vehicle fleet solution, which is to look at ways to look at the GSA fleet lease program, and we think there'll be a less expensive option there. Again, that GSA more than likely will be the lead on that one. Those three are moving along, but it'll take a little time to work through the way ahead. As you all know, especially the folks out there that do procurement, it takes a while to get contracts in place and to make sure that we have the best solution for everyone. So we'll work through that, but those are really great initiatives that I think are doable. And if you think about just how this can help us be more efficient, it's a great way ahead. Okay, so as I told you, the DoD has been in the category management business for a little over a year. And first thing we have to do is how we are going to look at all of the agencies. And like I said, we're not the same. We think differently, we act differently, we're sized differently, and we just have to see how everyone goes about doing their business. Some people have administrative support in one portfolio, others do it a different way, others have procurement scattered throughout their organization, some have it in one central office. Everyone does it differently. But the big thing was we got the strategic plan done, and that's important, and now we're doing the best-in-class assessments. So there's 4 key performance indicators, and that's spend under management, savings, get some savings, do some contract reduction, and use small business. And then the last thing that we've pushed together is use of the gateway, which is another one of those proposals where each person can get online and work through their areas for their categories. So again, it's really a good thing that we were able to get that small package delivery service done, and I think we're going to leverage all the capabilities throughout the government. One of the examples is Defense Acquisition University. Defense Acquisition University is based out of Fort Belvoir. A lot of people think it's only for defense personnel, but we are able to bring other people in there to learn about acquisition and be comfortable understanding how we procure our systems and our services. So we have had people out of GSA there, we've had people from the other parts of government, and so again, we can leverage those type of things to get people on board. Again, it's partnering, it's all about us making sure we work together. So I mentioned the hallway and the gateway in the hallway. So it says on there in the bottom that we have a hallway, and that is really a portfolio that you can go in to increase the user base. And it'll be a web link where you can get in and find out ways of how we're doing these different initiatives with regards to logistics and support. So again, it's an opportunity for us to get at forums like this, some summits, some collaborative efforts, anywhere we can go to reach out to not just government, but also to business and industry, so they know what's happening and we can partner together and look at a way to get a better solution for DoD. But we've found some lessons learned with our year on the job here, and I'm going to tell you some of the things we've learned so we don't repeat them. Okay, the first one is we got to get good data. And so for those of you that aren't in DoD, I need your help. Those of you that are in DoD, I really need your help on data. We have a lot of different ways of gathering data, and it's got to be somewhat standardized. I understand how we define things are different depending on where we work, but if we can get some similar data points that we can use that would help us all. And so there's the federal procurement data system that will help us with getting some standardized data. But again, everyone does it a little differently. And we're trying to look at ways for the program management offices and different procurement sites and contracting offices to get data to help us with that. And so it says up there, it's got to be credible too. It's hard to do. I mean, I'm in the logistics world and our job is to look out 20, 30 years for a weapon system and see how we're going to be able to sustain it in 20 or 30 years. Well, that is a lot of assumptions. You all know things are changing regularly around here. And so we have to be able to have some clear points of reference and then make our case with our data. But again, that's really important. The other thing is communication. It's very important. And you know, we all talk about if you don't communicate within your organization, let alone outside of your organization, then we just won't get across what we're trying to do here. And so we need to be transparent as possible. And I understand we all have requirements to maintain integrity of our organization and to be loyal to our bosses. But this whole category management process will not be successful if we're not working together and talking to each other. So I ask you to keep working that. And then you got to understand this is a federal-wide interest program. This is not DOD is the elephant in the room, or GSA is the big man on campus, or anyone else. Department of Energy has the most of this and the most of that. We have to work together and represent federal-wide interests, and we need to build trust. And then the last bullet is change management. And change management is hard. I've been in organizations where we have to take and bring in facilitators to help an organization change. They just can't see themselves. They can't see what they're doing is different or maybe not current. And how do you get past that? First of all, it's the leadership agreeing to change. It's the organization willing to change. And it's an understanding that change is good. And if you don't change, you could be left behind. And so I got to tell you, you have to be careful and make sure that you work with your organization and make sure your leadership's understanding what you're kind of recommending to the team, but you'd be willing to make some changes. And so these are some lessons we've learned just in this year. And if we can get past some of these, I think it'll be a way ahead for all of us. Okay, key takeaways. It's going to affect all federal agencies, and there's 10 categories. You'll hear more about it, I guess, if you haven't before later. But all 10 categories are critical. And so there's not one more important than the other. They're all 10 equal. 10% for each one, that you spend 10%. But it's not going to be one large single contract. It's going to be small contracts. It's going to be small changes. There might be some that an organization or agency doesn't even notice a change because it didn't affect you in that category. That's okay. It's small steps to gain a better end at the end. And so we've got to work that. And again, it's not about consolidating contracts. It might be complete changes in policy, in procedures. We want to share best practices, and we want to designate existing contracts as best in class. And I know from the team for DOD that's working this, they brought back a lot of good ideas from other agencies, which is great. You got to keep an open mind. As I said, it's going to be a different way to do a business. But you've got to also communicate and provide input. So up there is the Gateway website. We can provide that to you later if you need it, but that's for our piece. And at the bottom is Lisa Roberts, who's right here in the front, and she'll be on a panel later. And she's the category manager for the Transportation Logistics Service category. Again, reach out to her, reach out to us. It's a lot of opportunities to be more efficient in the future. And so with that, we're excited, like I said, to be part of this team. I don't know how things might morph as we bring in new leadership into DOD and into the rest of government. We know that already in DoD, we're seeing changes in the last month, and we'll continue to see changes. And I know the rest of the agencies that are represented here will also. And so category management might be tweaked a little bit, but the premise and the baseline is really something you want to remember is good for everyone. It's a way to be more efficient, more collaborative, and an opportunity for everyone to work together and really be successful. So with that, I'm going to keep that up, so if anyone wants to write down the Gateway or Lisa's email address, and then I will be open to any questions anyone has. I'm looking forward to hopefully having a few questions. They've got a mic there if anyone would like to ask a question. I'm not going to sing for you. Any questions? We got one up here. Good. Can you at least tell me who your name, you can just say your first name if you want, and where you work?
Sure. My name's Colleen. I work for SIE Consulting, small business group. I was wondering, for category management, how you say it does not always mean a single large-scale contract. If you could give some examples, particularly in DoD, of smaller contracts where category management particularly works successfully.
Well, we just started out, like I said, so the only one we've been really moving along on is the small package one, and that's probably not a good example because we had some, but you really think about small package, what do you think? FedEx, UPS, DHL, but everyone was doing it differently, and those companies, and they might be represented here, were charging different agencies different amounts. So therefore, it was better for us to standardize and find a standard price that everyone could use. So that's why we've brought it in as one contract. But it's not, and I'm going to add to that, it's not saying that it's going to be one of those major companies. It could be several. It could be 3 or 4. It could be smaller companies. They could sub to other companies that are maybe looking at supporting just a region and not just like a FedEx. So for that example, we would do that. Now, the other examples, we're talking household goods. If you work at State Department, you're moving your families all over the world. You're not just staying here in the States. If you work in GSA, you've got people all over the place. So you've got people in other parts of the country and the world, and they're moving. All these organizations have people. So household goods is one. We could have multiple contracts that small businesses, like I say, regional contracts, and they only support maybe the Northeast, or they do the Southeast. We could have a big company and multiple subs. So it's very, I guess, an opportunity for different organizations to really, based on the area that we're looking at, to bid on contracts. But it could be, it could be many different, I guess, small and large businesses. But we haven't gotten there yet, so we'll have to see how that works in the future. Okay. Yes, sir.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, or she's running to you there.
Hi, I'm Jimmy with Empower Strategies. On the previous slide, you mentioned that you need a communications plan for customer concerns. What are some of the concerns that you've heard so far?
Again, as I talked about, we're right now in more of the government talking to each other, not so much the contracts. And so as the government has been talking to each other, they're finding again that we don't think the same way, we don't procure the same way, we don't sometimes manage the way we do business similar. So we've got to come together and agree on what's our best practice. So that in itself is a big challenge. Then once we start looking at who we're going to contract with, that's going to be the next challenge, is the balance between small business, large business, subs. Is it going to be consolidated? Is it going to be multiple contracts? We want to keep all opportunities open. So it's going to be a balance, but that's where it is right now. Like I said, it's taking a while to just get a strategy in place of how we're going to do business. It's tough. This is new. This is only the second year we've done this, so it's going to take a little while, as I said. Yeah. But thank you, though. Okay, I have a question over here.
Good morning, I'm Ken Newcomer with ICF, and I just wondered if you could share some perspective on the DoD perspective on maybe participating in some of the other categories beyond the one that your organization's leading, but how is DoD perceiving, participating in some of the other categories?
I'm going to have to phone a friend on this list.
Yeah.
How we doing in the other category? She said we're doing great. I'm the logistics and transportation side now, so I don't know how we're doing the other ones, but I would tell you that I know the way DoD does business. We come in with a team of like 20 people when they asked us to have one person at the meeting, because some of these other offices might be just a small group and they can't afford to have 20 people come to a meeting. So if we have too many there, we need you to be, and you could use me and let me know, and I can tell them, hey guys, back off a little bit. We've got to. Okay, you need all 20. But the reality is yeah, we're getting help from everyone on our portfolio and our category, and that's good to hear that we're doing well on the others. But like I said, sometimes we are the elephant in the room. I know that. I told you how much money we're spending, and so we've got to make sure we balance it out. And I'm very aware, being a supply and sustainer, that there are people that have, if they have 20 people, they can't afford 2 people to be off doing other things, where when you have 2,000, you can afford 20 people. And so you got to balance that, and everyone has to be part of this. We're not going to be successful. But got it. Okay, anything else? Yes?
Hi. Ingrid Peterson's Nobles. In regards to data collection, are you finding that other agencies are readily committing to provide you their data?
In our area, we got to work on it. But again, I'll have Leslie, you put that down as a question you can help answer in the future there too, because you're right. Not everyone wants to provide data. Heck, I don't get data from the services up at OSD. I mean, it's tough. The Marine Corps does their thing, the Navy does their thing, the Army and the Air Force. So it is tough to get data. And like I said earlier, the data is so critical because we all define things differently. What's success? I mean, everyone has a different way of defining success. And it's very difficult. In fact, we will probably need to relook how we're gathering the data to make sure that we have good information to provide to make those right decisions for everybody, because one problem could affect